Hey guys, I simply wanted to remind that when we are craving something, really what we are craving is not, like as an addiction, it is not towards something, it's toward whatever it may be as an enhancement of the self. Like kind of turning on of some operative aspect, whether it's, we need to engage with some dopamine, some serotonin, some endorphins, some even cortisol. We need some kind of excretion into the system through an activation of some sort of our system. So when you seek something that is, pleasuring or whatever you identify pleasure as being the point, you're really looking for a dopamine release in the body. Um, and endorphins, you're looking for something exciting and risk taking, because that is really what excitement is. You're unsure and you want to see what happens, right? So just I kind of skip through because there's many examples of it, and serotonin is much more renowned as kind of being an all-round balancing chemical in the body. Um, Enhances the neurotransmission, the kind of interconnectivity of our neurology and our kind of synaptic, our bodily expression. How everything communicates, nervousness wise, like nervous system wise, and just there's so many different examples like oxytocin that's kind of getting us into that flow and grace and trust, you know and often that actually has to do with taking risks and stuff as well, because the more that we do that, the more we trust our, more than anything, probably our discernment. But still, it's each and every one of those mentioned is kind of in part and partial to each different approach you may take. But what they all have in common is that we're seeking some kind of, elation, or we're trying to ground, or we're trying to just, bring something forth in particular, or even in general. Um, Not outside, not out there, not over there, beyond the hill, on the event horizon. It's within the human system, right? So note that whenever you feel like that addictive tendency toward, like, say, I'm an adrenaline junkie, I gotta go do wild shit all the time, once a day, once a week, whatever, and just get that thrill factor in, or I feel like I'm not living, or something. Well, what is it? It's not ever about going doing the thing. The thing you just identify with a certain level of repetition, in terms of, like, I recognize in whatever pattern I've lived out that this seems to elicit some kind of feeling, state of being, alternate state of mind, whatever, right? Like it switches something up in the human system, it engages and activates something. And many of us just don't take too much time and be patient enough to simply see within what really does this. Like, what little buttons on the keyboard can I press to engage this without even needing to look at a certain color to feel a different mood? Like, we don't even need any outside kind of periphery tool to engage something within ourselves. Pay attention to that depth of self. Where and what, like, where does it and what does it spring forth from? Because we all have these mechanisms. It's the common ground experience base for all of us, right? We all have these buttons to press. They may be different alphabetical buttons on the keyboard, but we all have these buttons. And I simply implore to look within and see, oh, I'm lacking a little oxytocin today. What can I do to kind of get myself in the trusty swing of things? And I'd say a good example of that is just even simply making decisions and executing whatever needs to be done and following through. And you can get to learn how to trust your own discernment. You're telling what's what along the way, and then engaging in whatever practical ways may follow upon that. Or like we said about the adrenaline junkie thing, like, okay, well, go and do something perhaps healthy for yourself that will, optimize whatever kind of future trajectory or alignment you may have with your ever healthier self. Something you'll thank yourself tomorrow for, and yet gives you a thrill for today, and you're like, oh wow, I'm just a gleeful and extra fucking glad I did that for all reasons notable, right? Yeah, and just find different ways to kind of thank yourself for, like, being glad you did it in the releases of whatever it is you're seeking, because most people are just entertainment brain rot, oriented. just looking for it to be like bamboozled and spoon fed stimuli, and wondering where the kind of event horizon level quality of their life is sitting. Well, it's no further than right where you are. You're just looking in all the wrong places to elicit that essential reminder of everything that is most worth living. Learn the buttons of your keyboard. And I will say something else, because many of us even know what the buttons are. In essence, we can kind of feel what they may be, but we don't feel into where they are, how they are, the essential integrity of what these buttons are. Find that, seek that, and then when you get that, find where they may lead you. And you won't ever need to look outside again for a life fulfilled.